Hello everyone. So in the last video, we set up the environment for this workshop, the Jupyter Notebook, and I hope that you are familiar with the Jupyter Notebook now, and you can open the existing IPython notebook files, and also you can uh, get new IPython notebook. So what I'm going to do now, these files, you can receive these files, and I will pass the links for these files, so you can download this set of files and keep it with you. So what we are going to do is, now we are going to go through, I have created these tutorials. So what you can do is simply go through these things, and I have given the note and some interactive materials as well as code. So we will go through each and every one and complete the basics of Python. So what I'm going to first open is the part one, where we are going to discuss about the basics of Python and the variables, data types, and the introduction to Python programming, right? So let me get the screen bit larger. So I will get the notebook like this. Okay. So now I'm going to discuss about the basics of Python. But before going on to that, let me discuss about what's a programming language, and simply I will explain what happens in a programming language and what we can do, what's the usage of programming language, and then we will move to the basics of Python. Okay, so the programming language, we have lots of programming languages like Java, C++, C, right? And Ruby, Python, right? JavaScript, and I can give like hundreds of examples for programming languages. But anyway, if you take one programming language, what the programming languages simply does is, now if you want to get something from a computer or let's say a machine, so we have to provide set of instructions. We have to provide the order, right? So when you're going to provide this kind of like let's say set of instructions, we can't provide those instructions in single English, Hindi, or any other language. What we have to do is we have to provide that set of instruction. Okay, so let's say that we want to get something done from a computer. Let's say we want to watch a video, we want to play a song from the computer, using the computer. So in order to get something done from the computer, we have to provide the specific set of instruction to the computer. So the important thing here is that the computer can't understand any language like we do, right? The computers or any other electronic devices, they can understand only binary codes like 1 or 0, high voltage or a low voltage, right? So what we have to do is, whatever we want to get done from the computer, we have write it, and we have to use a translator to translate whatever the instruction that we have written into a binary code, right? So that's what the programming comes into play. So these translators, we have two main types of translators: compilers and interpreters. Anyway, so the language that we are going to use to write that set of instructions, right, is called a programming language. So we don't use English, Hindi, Tamil, or any other language. We use a programming language, since these set of instructions should be written in a standard order, right, and using some rules, a structured manner. So that's why we have this kind of a specific language called programming language, where we have some and structured and set of we are writing it using set of standards and set of rules, right? So we are going to write it using a programming language, and we have a translator, and two types of translators are there, called compilers and interpreters. So we'll translate it to a binary code, and what happens, we can provide a set of instructions, and that will be translated into the binary code, and we can get the get whatever thing we wanted from the machine or the computer, right? So Python is a programming language. So does others like C, C++, Java, right? So now you may wonder why these, lots of programming languages are there. Like I can give you like hundred of programming languages, right? So we have lots of programming languages, and you may wonder why we can't have like few, like one, two programming languages and get everything done. No, the thing is, programming language is always an application dependent thing. That means Now, let's say, for example, if you want to implement softwares, PC softwares, or mobile applications, web applications, in that case, if you are dealing with software-based implementation, then Java is the best programming language, right? So if you are working with the application or implementation related to microcontrollers, hardware, I mean robots, right? Embedded systems, hardware implementation, hardware programming, right? In that case, we can use C++, right? When it comes to artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, data science, image processing, robots, robot controlling, those kind of applications, we use Python, right? So always we have to be application specific. So now, if you are into software development, no need of using Python. I mean, we can use Python, but I mean, as a major programming language, no need to use Python. So if you are interested on artificial intelligence, web framework development, and image processing, machine learning, deep learning, neural network implementations, data science applications, then you have to learn Python, right? So Python is a interpreted programming language. Now, what's the main difference between a compiler and an interpreter programming languages? Compiler programming languages, when you're going to write the code, it reads the whole code and check for syntax error and runtime errors. And if there is no any error, it runs the code and I mean, it compiles the code and it executes the code. But when it comes to interpreter programming language, no, it doesn't do it like that, but it execute the program sequentially, like line by line, not always line by line, but we can say line by line. So it's not going to check all the errors, but it's going to check one line, and if it's okay, it's going to execute that line. Likewise, if there is any error, right, so it's going to give the error and stop. But the earlier codes are executed until a error or a syntax error or a runtime error is found, right? So that's the main difference between a compiler and an interpreter. So Python is the interpreter programming language, and it's interactive. That means we can no need to always write the whole code, but we can use it like an interactive environment. I will show you by the meaning of the interactive later. And also Python is object-oriented programming language, and the important thing that this is a mixed programming language. Like we have sequential programming as well as the object-oriented programming. We have 100% OOP languages as well, like Java, but Python is not like that, not 100% OOP, but it has a sequential programming as well as the OOP. So this is similar to C++, right? And it's a beginner's language, so very simple syntax and very less lines of codes, and very simple, easy to understand programming language, a beginner's language, right? But I'm not recommending Python as a beginner's language, since it's the syntax and everything is quite similar. I'm quite simple. You are not going to get that the environment, or the, we can say, the real struggle of implementing code. So if you learn C or C++ as the first language, it would be better. Now, if you can learn those languages and then come to Python, it will be quite easy to learn Python. But starting with Python, not recommending at my point, right? Okay, so anyway, as I mentioned, Python is used for this kind of applications, and Python is the best programming language for this kind of applications, right? Okay, so quickly let me move on to the Python variables, and how we can save values, objects, and numbers, and strings, and everything in Python. So let's see how we can implement variables, objects, and everything in Python, right? So we have 5 main types of data types in Python that we can save. So the first one is numbers, strings, list, tuples, and dictionary. So we will discuss about the last three, the strings, sorry, the list, tuple, and dictionary in the next video. But now what we are going to do is we will first discuss about numbers and strings and see how the numbers and strings can be saved in Python, right? Okay, so simply this is how we are going to save and assign values to variables in Python. So I'm going to talk about numbers and string. So let me define a variable like a, and let me assign a value like 10. So this is assigning a number, and this is again assigning a number. Now, if you are familiar with any other programming language, so in other programming languages, this is done like this, right? And similarly, most of the other programming languages, you are going to do something similar to this. So see the difference now. You don't have, and also here you have to have a main function, right? You have to have a main function, and you have to have this block, the curly brackets, the starting curly bracket, ending curly bracket, and this kind of a syntax. And sometimes some header files maybe have to be included, right? And include this IO stream listing, right? Likewise, you have to implement it like this, right? So, but in Python, no, nothing like that. You can do it like this. No any data type, right? So no need to mention the data type. So here 10 and 20.2 both are considered as numbers. So nothing, I mean, in Python, we don't differentiate it like integers and floats. No, everything will be treated as numbers. So A and B, both of them are numbers, right? So this is how we are going to create variables very simply. Now, no need to implement a main function, no need of headers in this level, but we need some modules later, libraries later. But for a simple standard code, no need to have header files or libraries or modules. So simply this is how we are going to assign values to variables in Python. So this is how we are going to assign numbers into Python. So if you want to like print these values, you can print them and see like this, right? So 10, 20.2. And also you can see the space is automatically created, but in Python, I mean other programming languages, these kind of spaces are not provided, right? And yeah, so that's it. And let us create another set of variables. Now here I'm going to create something like this. Let's say, okay, let's say, and right. So the other thing is, now these two in other programming languages, you may identify this as a character, and you have to you identify this as a string in most of the other programming languages. But in Python, these two are considered as strings. Both of them are string. Now here you know that there is one character, but still it is treated as a character, not a character but a string. So this is also a string. And other important thing, you can have when you are defining strings, you can have double inverted commas or single inverted commas. Both would be fine, right? And this is how we are going to print and see those values, right? So C and D, let's say, right? And this is how we are going to assign values to those variables, right? And yeah, so if you now you can see that let me print everything at once here, right? So here in Python, no need to have data types and everything, and no terminators. So what I mean by a terminator? So this is a statement terminator in other programming languages, like most of the programming languages. So this is called the terminator, right? So semicolon is there to break a line. But in Python, no need to have a semicolon. What you have to do is simply you have to the line ends like this. No need to specifically mention the line is like finished, right? No, this is how we are going to write Python code simply. Now here, if you run this, you can see something like this, output like this. So if you want to now get this as line by line, you can use another parameter, separator, and you can provide that the separate, it should be separated by a new line, right? So then you can see it like this, right? Understood? Okay, so this is how we are going to simply implement variables and assign values to variables, right? And these are some reserved words in Python. So these are keywords. So we can't use these keywords in our codes in order to create variable names. Now, if you use a and b, those are fine, but you can't have else, elif, del, those kind of things as variable names. So that's why that's that are the things that you call reserve words. And Python identifier is a name used to create a variable, function, class, or any other object. And you can start it with using A to Z, simple or capital. And if you want to start it using a number, you can't do that, but you can add the underscore and create a variable. Now let's say that you want to create a variable like 2a, right? It's 2a. Now if you create a variable like 2a equal hello, you can't do this, right? So this will give you an error, syntax error. So if you want to actually have a number at the start of a variable, you have to do it like this. You have to put the underscore at the first. So these are very general things when it comes to programming languages, right? And yeah, so numbers and strings, now both float values, integer values are considered as numbers in Python, and both strings and char considered as strings in Python, and you can have single or double inverted commas to define them. And yeah, so when it comes to a string, so you know that a string is kind of an array, right? String is kind of array. So here you can see I have defined a string called hello world. So it's how saved in your memory or the RAM. So you can see that it has 10 elements, and this is considered as array. So this you can see simply what we do is we print the whole array as hello world. And here what we'll do is we print the 0th element of the array. So the 0th element here is simply h, right? So it's h. And here the second one, we print from 2 to 5. So this is 2:5 means 2 to 5. But the thing is, now in Python, always the upper limit. Now this is the lower limit or the starting value, and this is the upper limit. Now keep that thing in mind. In Python, all upper limit will be always 1 less than the upper value. So this is common for everything in Python. When if you are defining upper limit, then the upper limit will be always 1 less than the given value. So here it says 2 to 5, but actually it goes from 2 to 4. So here now these values should be printed 2 to 4, right? So you can see in the second, the third output, right? The third output, LLO is printed, right? LLO is printed. And here what you have to do is 2 to, we haven't mentioned the end. Now here it says 2 to 5, but here we haven't mentioned then. In that kind of a situation, what happens is it prints from 2 to the end, since the ending value is not mentioned, right? So similarly, if you print something like this, if you print my string, and if you print my string, let's say, right, so something like this. Now yeah, so what this means, that we haven't mentioned the start value, but we mentioned the upper value for 5, that means up to 4. So since the starting value is not mentioned, it's going to go from 0. So what happens? 0 to 4. So if you run this one, you will see that hello will be printed, right? Simply hello will be printed here. And also yeah, so here we are asking to multiply the string by 2 and print. So it simply prints it twice, right? And here what we asked to do is my string plus test. So my string is hello world, and we add something called test to that. So then you can see hello world test. So string addition. So we add 2 words or 2 strings, right? So that's what happens there. And one last thing. Now, if you use minus values, what happens here? Let's say -1. So -1 actually refers to the last element of the right, the last element of the string. And also, if you to write, so you can see yeah, D. So so minus, if you use minus value, start from the end and show you the elements, right? So -1 is the last one, -2 is the second last one, and -3 is the third, I mean, third last one, right? Likewise, right? So then you can understand what happens here. So if you write something like this, like say, let's say 2 to -3, that means 2 to last value, I mean 3 before, 2 before last value, right? So it simply says, okay, so start from 2 to, and go to this one, right? Yeah, I think so. Let me run it and see. Yes, as I mentioned, right? LLO space VOR, right? Understood? Right. So that's how we are going to do it simply, right? Okay. So now what happens then? Yeah, so that's pretty much everything is about strings, and we will discuss about these things in detail when it comes to examples. But simply, this is what I want to explain about Python strings simply. Okay, so then I'm going to quickly move on to Python input, how to take inputs from Python program, right? So you can simply use the command input. So what you can do, input. So input is the command to take a user input, I mean the keyboard input from the user. So then what we can do is we can take that keyboard input to a variable like this. So if you run this, what happens, you will see the cursor is blinking here, and it waits until some value is entered. So after a value is entered, that value will be assigned to this variable called value, right? So if you type something, nothing happens. Now let me print this thing like this. Okay, value and value, right? So now it will print a string value and then the value that we are going to enter. That what happens if you enter some value here, it will be taken here and it's printed here, right? So that's what happens. So let me quickly run this and show you the output. So let me enter 10. So it prints like, okay, value colon 10, right? And the other thing is that you can give, now here if you run this, you can't see anything. It's simply blinks the cursor and we have to enter a value. But here the important thing when it comes to I mean the input, right? What you can do is you can give a customized message inside this input. So input is a function, so you can pass this kind of a string as parameter. So what happens here is simply when you run this one, you can see now this is not appearing like a blinking cursor, but you will see a message as well, enter value for x. So what you can do is then enter something for x. And here you can see what I have done is I have taken two values from the user to x and y. So I'm going to take two values from the user to x and y. Then I print them separately, the x value and the y value. Then I print the addition of the x and y, right? So if you enter sample values like this 10 and 20, right? So the expected output is 30, right? So this is the integer addition, two integers, but the answer that we are going to get is 10 to 20. So what has happened, you will understand that whatever the thing that we are going to enter like this, okay, so let's say, right, no matter what we are going to enter, it's taken as a string. So that's why you are going to see it like this. So we have performed the string addition, right? The string addition, right? String addition. So that's what happened. So we can conclude then Python input function takes whatever you are going to input using the keyboard as a string. So that's why when you are going to add them up, you are going to see this kind of a string addition. But we can have a solution for this. So when you are going to enter a value like this, right? So when a value is entered and that value is taken, before taking it, we can so you know that this value, this thing takes an input from the user and save it in the x. But what you are going to do when you are going to take that value, so here this is where we are going to take that value, right? This is where I'm going to take that value. So before assigning it here, we convert it to an integer and assign it for. We do it for two variables. So we take the value and we convert it to an integer and assign. So now, if you run this one, you can see, okay, 10, 23. So you can see now the expected output is here. But the issue is that when you are going to run this, if you convert it to an integer, sometimes it won't work for the float, right? So what you can do is, without doing it for this kind of, integers, we can use a function called eval, right? So eval. So this eval is a very powerful function, not not like integer or float, but eval is a very powerful function. So let's see the output. So when you are going to run this, works fine, 210, and here let us input some float value, so you can see it also works quite fine. But now I will show you something here. So what happens now, right? So let me input some expressions here, right? So you can see, okay, so 20 and 12, 32, right? So you can see now they are evaluated, right? So eval function simply evaluate the expression given in a string, right? So here 10 into 2, so it takes it evaluated, right? So it evaluates the expression and take the value, right? So eval is not always doing the casting. I mean, it's not converting the integer or converting it to a float. No, when you are going to give an expression, it can eval function can execute that expression given, right? So for example, if you use this kind of expression to my string, and if you pass it to the eval function, and you can get it executed, the expression executed, and you can get the value, right? Understood? So if I run this like this, so 20, 27 minus 4, so simply if you run this, you are going to get 23, right? Okay, so yeah, so this bin is simply converting a decimal number into a binary, right? So you can run it and see. And eval function, you can using the eval, you can convert it back to a decimal, right? Okay, so you are asked to, we have a quiz here. The first quiz that you are going to get: write a Python program to take two inputs from the user and two variables called value1 and value2, and print the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and exponent. So simply we have to take two inputs from the user. So I will do it. Now we can use the eval function that we know, right? So let me use the eval function, and I can give a message to the user, enter a value, enter the value one. Let's say enter the value one, right? So first we will follow the steps and we'll do what you are asked to do. So enter the value one first, and then what you can do is you can then take the second value like this, value 2 equal to value 2. So we are taking two input from the user, and what you are asked to do is, now okay, we have two inputs, and print the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and exponent. So we will print first three, the addition like this. You can give a message like this, addition. So simply value 1 plus value 2, right? So then let me do it quickly for the other three. So subtraction, let me write as sub, and then the multiplication, so let me write this as mult. So the multiplication is like this, and also the division can be done here. So division like this, div, right? So then finally what we can do is the modulus and exponent. So what I think you know what's modulus. So simply the modulus is something like this. Let's say that you have to divide 3 from 2, right? So it's 1 and 2. So the right? So the remainder, right? So this is what you call the modulus, right? So what you can do is you can get it from the this operator, right? Using this one, you can get the division, and the exponent is simply okay like this. So if we have the value 1 is 2 and the value 2 is 3, let's say, so exponent is 2 to 3 and to the power 3, right? So how we are going to get it? So this should be modulus, and this is simply the the exponent, right? Exponent. So you can have two star marks and it will give the exponent for you. So let us run this and see the output. So I will enter like 10 and 3, right? So you can see addition is fine, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus is also fine, and exponential is right. So this is how you can implement the quiz one, right? Okay, so thank you very much, and we will meet on the next video where we are going to discuss about the lists, tuples, and dictionaries in Python. Thank you very much.